One of the most overlooked but critical pieces of the obesity puzzle is metabolic adaptation, the body's natural, often frustrating response to repeated cycles of weight loss. Many people assume that if they simply eat less and move more, their weight will continue to drop predictably. But the reality is far more complicated. The human body is biologically wired for survival, not aesthetics. And when it senses a consistent calorie deficit, especially after a history of dieting, it begins to fight back in subtle but powerful ways by slowing down metabolism, reducing energy expenditure, and increasing hunger. Over time, this can make fat loss far more difficult, even when food quality remains high and discipline stays strong. When someone starts a diet and cuts calories, the body initially responds with weight loss, especially from water and glycogen stores. But as the diet continues, the body adapts. Hormones such as leptin, which signals fullness, drop. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, rises. Thyroid hormones may decrease, which lowers resting metabolic rate. Even non-exercise movements, like fidgeting or spontaneous physical activity, can decline subconsciously. All of these changes combine to reduce calorie burn and increase appetite, making continued weight loss more difficult and weight regain more likely. This process is not psychological sabotage. It's biology doing its job. From an evolutionary standpoint, our bodies evolved in environments of food scarcity, not abundance. Losing fat, which is energy storage, sends alarm signals to the brain that survival could be threatened. The body's response is to conserve energy and restore fat reserves as quickly as possible. This is why many people regain weight after a diet, even if they maintain relatively healthy eating patterns. The body doesn't simply go back to the pre-diet state. It can become more efficient at storing fat and more resistant to letting it go again. There's a deeper warning here for chronic dieters. Each cycle of weight loss and regain may make it harder to lose weight the next time. This is known as adaptive thermogenesis, and it can persist even after body weight has been regained. Studies show that people who have dieted repeatedly often have lower resting metabolic rates than expected for their size and body composition. This means they may require fewer calories just to maintain their current weight, a physiological disadvantage that isn't caused by overeating, poor food choices, or lack of exercise, but by the body's long memory of previous energy deprivation. The more extreme the diet, the more intense this rebound effect tends to be. Crash diets, juice cleanses, and ultra-low-calorie regimens may produce rapid weight loss in the short term, but they also prime the body for a steep rebound. The result is a slower metabolism, more fat regain, sometimes with muscle loss, and a sense of failure that leads to another round of restriction. This cycle is not only physically damaging but psychologically draining, fostering food fear, body shame, and emotional exhaustion. Even when people shift to clean eating or whole food diets, the damage from past restrictive patterns can linger. For someone with a slowed metabolism, even moderate caloric intake might be too much to lose weight. And because healthy food is still energy, even large quantities of good foods like nuts, avocados, and grains can contribute to weight maintenance or gain if the underlying metabolic burn rate has been lowered. This often leads to confusion and frustration. I'm eating healthy, but nothing is working. There's also the issue of muscle mass. Dieting without resistance training often leads to muscle loss along with fat. Since muscle is metabolically active tissue, this further reduces resting energy expenditure. Without intentional strength training and adequate protein intake, the body loses its ability to burn calories efficiently, yet another factor in long-term weight struggles. But this isn't a hopeless scenario. Understanding metabolic adaptation can help shift the conversation from blame to strategy. First, any sustainable fat loss plan must be slow, gradual, and paired with resistance training to preserve muscle mass. Sudden, extreme cuts in calories almost always backfire. Second, periods of maintenance, where weight is intentionally held steady, are not failures but essential phases that allow the metabolism to stabilize. They prevent the yo-yo effect and teach the body that it doesn't need to panic and conserve energy. Rebuilding metabolism after a long history of dieting requires time, patience, and sometimes an intentional increase in calories, a process called reverse dieting. By gradually reintroducing energy while focusing on strength training and stress reduction, some individuals can recover metabolic function and regain the ability to lose weight in a more balanced way. This approach challenges the traditional narrative of eat less, move more, and highlights the importance of respecting the body's adaptive nature. Most importantly, This perspective warns against the seductive pull of quick fixes. Weight loss is not just about willpower or eating the right food. It's about working with your biology, not against it. For many people with a long dieting history, their struggle with weight is not a failure of discipline but a consequence of metabolic defense mechanisms set in motion by repeated restriction. In the end, sustainable health means letting go of the idea that more restriction equals more success. Instead, it requires nurturing the metabolism through nourishing food, strength-building movement, and enough rest, while understanding that biology has a louder voice than motivation. Obesity is not a simple math problem. It is a metabolic, hormonal, and psychological challenge, and overcoming it requires compassion, science, and a long-term perspective that goes far beyond the food on your plate.